Hi guys, it's good to be out again. Having a bit of a yeah. So hopefully this is going to be another Tummo progress report, as in how things are going generally. I actually rewatched a couple of my earlier recordings, videos about this stuff, and it looks like I'm coming to the conclusion that the impact of the tumor work, specifically on my hormonal things as they are, my hormonal system, if you like to call it that, is more profound than I expected. Which is just like me, it's like jump in because it feels good, it feels like I know what I'm doing. Also, anyhow, there is no intel about this, about the interaction for women on the influence of Tummo energy work on your system. There is no intel to be found anywhere. So what can I do? I still think it's a good idea to be doing this. However, where I expected really, that I was going to, because that's the way Tummo work makes me feel. I was expecting to feel a lot stronger, to feel more, better defended. How do you protected? Yes, that's the word I was looking for, against the weather that we've been having. Okay, so as you can see, it's sunny at the moment. I have my sliding door actually closed because it's very windy still. I'm very much enjoying the light as it is anyway. But I'm keeping myself, I'm not staying inside or indoors all the time necessarily. I will go to the shops or whatever. At one point, it's not like that. But I've been having to self-diagnose in my underbelly extensively. And to tell you the truth, I'm kind of fed up with it. So I actually did a spread even of little cards here I did a 4-way spread like that, like 4 corners of the cauldron, or if you want to call it that, where the cards in each corner were supposed to tell me about my responses to particular parts of the situation that I'm in at the moment with the Tummo energy. So hoping also that I would be able to get some information from that as to whether there's anything in particular, that I should be paying attention to. So that's interesting, because I had a family visit over, people coming over. It was somebody that I hadn't seen in 35 years, and it was great fun, and we had a lot to talk about, and there's more to be said about that as well. But it was kind of striking for me to have somebody that I'm actually related to over at the house, and she, as tends to happen for somebody who's into energy work and light work and stuff like that, people that you're related to are actually transmitting whole loads of information to your system that you may not necessarily be aware of at that very time. So there's that. That's part one corner of the cauldron, okay? The other corner, the next one is the weather or the season that we're having. So today is Wednesday, the 12th of February. Yes, we've been having extremely windy and even sort of wintry weather, where actually yesterday I went for my walk, where I showed you just a tiny bit of where I was at. And before and after that, there was half an hour on each end of actually sort of ploughing through the wind, and the wind was quite cold, but I needed the exercise desperately because I've been sitting on my butt for way too long, and then everything just sort of clogs up and I go nuts. So I needed the oxygen, I needed the circulation and the, all of that. So that was fine. But, well, okay. So that's number 2, the weather. The third part of my corners spread here has the title of hormones, so hormonal cycle. I was in the stage of the ovulation again. It's boring, I know. I'm so sorry. It's very boring, to have to deal with hormones anyway, and I'm wanting to, get rid of the whole thing. But so far, I'm not completely sure that's going to happen. And the fourth corner of the cauldron would be personal change for me. So I have 2 things that are really to do with humanity, myself and other people, influences. And the other 2 corners are really basically things that are just part of nature, like the weather, whether it's, hail falling out of the sky and things like that. Hailing and snowing. Actually, yesterday there was a moment where it was snowing like big dollops of mushy snow, and the sun was shining into that. So I kind of tend to normally like that kind of dramatic weather, but So my problem, the reason why I also did this spread, and I'll get to the cards in a minute, is that I suppose what happened is that I caught a cold on my underbelly on some reason, because I put on jackets that were too short, or for some reason or other. My mum would have come up with an explanation along those lines, definitely. And I've had rather nasty pains, sort of like a neuralgia type pain, for a couple of days now. It's a lot less now, what with a couple of things that I've done in order to get this sorted out for myself. And the one thing that I noticed really fundamentally that was really important is that after my period had passed, I have not been able to get any proper Shakti or Tummo energy work done at all. So the last time that I really did, other than this morning really, so because I have been able to catch it up again, but before that there were actually 2 weeks where I haven't been able to work with that. And because basically of this one single thing, that whenever there's a big hormonal change, there's like a barrier to the Shakti energy that comes up. So it's like your second chakra is really split in half. The bottom half of it has to do with all the reproductive systems, the sexual organs and all that. And the top half is where the Tummo is supposed to be happening. So what happens is whenever I have a hormonal change or hormonal shift, there's the flow of energy from those 2 halves, up and down, is blocked. And it feels like it's completely blocked. And that's horrible. It's just what it actually physically creates a huge lot of tension in my lower back, in my spine, in my vertebrae, my hip bones, and it's probably just one of my sensitive areas, I haven't had any headaches, hallelujah, but in that case you just tend to take aspirins anyway. I don't know what's going on. I hate hormones. I'm done with it. I'm done. I'm so over it. Anyway, the blockage of the meridians, so the chakra blockage created meridian blockage, which created a nervous system blockage, and then all the rest of it just kind of froze up into one big lump of misery. There you go. And this happened at the same time that I was sitting around the table with my cousin and her friend, and we were sitting at the table for ages on end. And already before that, all during the week I'd been having all sorts of emotional turmoil and blah de blah and misery and what have you. Battling my life. It's just a struggle. What can I say? I have been doing more drawing, so I'm still at it with my inks and paints and drawing materials, and I'm having a whale of a time with that still. That's like my highlight of my life at the moment, is whenever I can, just doodle, and it becomes really witchy and I get all this great stuff. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. And thank goodness, because that sort of gives me a sense of that there's actually a purpose to my life, even though, I don't care that much about having a particular, assessing any value to that type of thing or so. It has enormous value for me. So that's good enough. Okay. So, the whole thing is that so I have this hormonal problem. So whenever I go like this, that's what that means. It means that my fertility apparatus in my body that still believes that I have to give birth to I don't know how many children. Good Lord. Why? Why now? No, okay? But okay, so let's that thing right there. Whenever that sort of happens at the same time with a couple of other things and the weather and all the rest of it, then I guess then it accumulates into, and then I don't think there's really anything I could do. I've been in the bath. I've been having gallons of tea, herbal tea. I'm into this great mixture at the moment. I have dried my own turmeric roots. So I can buy turmeric roots, fresh ones, at the Asian store in town. And I do the same with those, and with ginger, actually, is that I made a drying rack out of chicken wire that is constructed in a particular way so that it sort of rests on its own little support down there. I put baking paper on top of that, and then I put my sliced materials, whatever it is that I'm drying, on top of that. I use it a couple of times a year. I have two of those, a really big one and a slightly smaller one, and I think there's also a teeny tiny one in case I just have little stuff. Normally it's the middle one that I use most of all. And they sit on top of my cupboard way over there in the back kitchen for as long as I don't need them, right? So, but this works really well, because then dried turmeric, dried ginger, and in this particular case, gunpowder green tea in a pot, pour boiling water or water that just hasn't reached the boil completely on that, and let that steep for as long as you like. And I'm having huge mugs of that stuff, and especially the turmeric and the ginger in combination is just really, it's working. It's really nice. I can advise anybody to have some of that, really. So, and I think it's a lot cheaper than getting your little tea bags, which is of course very practical to just have one mug or so. It gets the turmeric gives it a really nice, I don't know, I suppose it's like a jungle forest flavor type. It's really exotic in one way, whereas ginger I'm so used to that I don't really notice that it is of course also very tropical and very exotic. So I'm hoping I'm not making too much of a mess of this. But it's been so, having this neuralgic pain in the bottom, in my back, in my lower back really, has been driving me nuts for the past 3.5 days. By now it is more or less okay. I can still feel it, but it's not bothering me anymore. But I have to exercise enough, but I also have to protect myself from the wind and whatever, and at one point I just go off into, either I go into my drawing activities or I go work on the computer, which is something I also tend to do because I'm still also looking up stuff for to have sort of background information for the Tummo, I found a really cool book that I'm probably going to buy at one point or another, but I did also find it in PDF form. So yeah, there's that. Which is the 6 Yogas of Naropa. And that's actually, it's been translated and edited really well in the, what was it, the 90s or some, by a guy named Mullen. And I'll stick the link in the description if you're interested. You can go have a look at that. So I tend to, in each case, whatever it is that I'm actually doing, I tend to just plant my ass somewhere and do my things for hours on end. And then whenever I have neuralgic pains, it just gets unbearable. It just becomes the blockage that's really there, that's causing the problem, it becomes impossible to get relaxed enough, to get enough Shakti energy to come up to dissolve the blockage, which is possible, but it takes, so I had to take painkillers and magnesium, which is like a relaxant also. And I have used, I'm still wearing it at the moment, a Desirite pendant that looks like so. Quite a really nice warming stone. I can still feel this each time I hold it, even though I've worn it for, what is it, 18 hours or so. If I hold it in my hand like this, it goes, the vibration goes in here. It's, I think still the Desirite is the best, most beautiful crystal to help with this type of metabolic issues, because it just grounds everything beautifully. And so it makes, and the other thing that I've been doing is I've been let me see if I can show you. I have looked up and found my homemade little incense sticks. These contain white sage powder and probably a couple of little resins and some amber type resin. So not the amber, the pendant type, but the perfume ingredient, okay? And they also contain cannabis. So I've been burning quite some of these little sticks here, and it's not that much that's in it, and it's, you don't even smell necessarily, it smells nice. It smells, because of the amber also and the sage, it's really relaxing. And I put a picture of a cannabis plant on my screen of my phone even, because that's almost enough for the cannabis information to be transmitted to parts of my system where I feel like I'm using all the help I can get, you know. I am not yet as far going so far as to go back to town to get me some weed and smoke it, because it's the money, and it's 15 euros for, you know, a pipe full or something, which is, you know. Is it worth it when I can also find other ways? I can use the transmission, I can use the Desirite, I can use, and I have to use the Shakti. But that's the thing with Shakti energy work for women. If the system is blocked because you're supposed to be reproducing, you know, you're not going to get the Shakti that you really need. We have so many ailments. I wouldn't say disease necessarily. Maybe there's I still think that a lack of Shakti in your system, that's going to create problems all over the place, always. I'm sure of it. So I will share with you my cards. 19 minutes. Wow, all of that complaining about how I am not feeling so great. I am doing better today. Enough relaxation is crucial. I tend to get worked up and then I get feisty and combative, you know? I don't know about you guys, but I tend to just I get what's the word? Confrontational? No, that's not it either. I fight the thing, and because I fight it, I resist, and that's not helping. So, whatever. So, my cards. Okay, I will show you my cards and then I'm going to sign off. I will go either into the bath or to the computer or in the other way around, whichever comes first. So the cards I had for family patterns, where I think it's about Four of Wands and the 10 of Wands. That was it. I think it's basically showing me that there is a joyful side to that, and there is which is a Rider-Waite kind of an interpretation, yes. And there's a level of exhaustion with that as well. What can I say really about this? It's like there's a card missing also, because I have 3 cards for the other 3 positions. And that's okay, really, because I don't have a lot of family interaction. This was just one time, and we've been messaging each other, my cousin and I, because she's interested in all sorts of horoscope background things for herself, which is cool, because then I get to look at all sorts of charts and ponder, things, which can be a bit of a burden also. And I need to get my ass out onto a sunny beach somewhere and not think about things for a week. That would be nice. We agreed, husband and I agreed, that would be a really good idea. So far it's not happening. So influences or responses to the weather. Okay, the weather and the season. I get the Ace of Wands, the Temperance card, and the Queen of Pentacles. I'm not completely confident about this one, even though I like the Ace of Wands quite a lot. It looks to me like the Temperance card is really mixing up the fire of the Ace of Wands and the earth of the Queen of Pentacles. So, and that's what the weather is doing at the moment. It's like this, what with all the wind and the hail, and it's like the Netherlands are really on the edge between 2 climate zones all the time. So either we get like 12 to 15 degrees and rainy and dark grey type weather without a lot of wind, where the climate area is really coming from the south of Europe normally, or we get wintry, brighter weather, which is a lot colder, and in that case the frontier between those 2 weather systems is sort of shifted downward towards Belgium. So it's when you get a lot of wind and hail storms like this, like we've been having, it's like we're really on the middle of that frontier between the 2 weather systems, and it's just, going over the country like that the whole time, and it's not really changing. So hence the need for temperance that I get. Temperance has always been a real mate of mine. And I think that what the cards are also saying to me is that I have all these aspects inside myself as well. So the fire aspect, the earth aspect. And what I need is to observe what it is that I need at the time, right? And I may need something in the morning and something else in the afternoon. So that makes quite some sense to me. The third card set that I've got, which is about the hormones. This is interesting, right? To me, at least. I get the Queen of Cups, like so. Here is the King of Wands, again. Him again. And somehow it's kind of cute that they come out together like that. The third card, La Mort, death. So whether this actually means that I am going into my menopause and that's the why and the wherefore of the whole sad story, the time will tell, right? So the last set that I've got, which has to do with personal change, I get the 4 of Pentacles. Am I hoarding something? I'm trying to protect myself. Yes, that's maybe natural, I suppose. Yay, the Knight of Wands. My favorite card ever. The King of Cups. So I think this is pretty cool, what with the Queen and let's have a look. Yes, there's 2 kings in this spread, and there's 2 queens and a knight, and so on and so forth. And there's wands coming out on each side, basically. Each time it's a different level of the wand adventure, basically happening. So, wands at the bottom, Knight of Wands, King of Wands with the Death next to him, and the Ace of Wands. So if I go like that, then I get all these wands in the middle. It's really, really interesting, because that would represent probably how I'm dealing with my Tummo process, how impatient I am being, because it's in my nature, with myself. And I've heard, I don't know how many people say that they are angry with themselves because they don't have the discipline. Whatever. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it at that. I hope this is of some use to somebody out there. Thank you so much for watching, as always. And who knows, I will be back. I'm always bounce back somehow. And we'll figure it out as we go along, right? Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. See you. Bye-bye.